You know what's interesting about people with extremely high intelligence? We have this idea of what a genius looks like, someone constantly solving problems out loud or showing off what they know. But psychology research suggests something different. It's often much more subtle. In fact, cognitive psychologists often say that intelligence is less about what you know and more about how your brain processes the world. And that unique way of processing shows up in some pretty interesting patterns. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. It can sharpen the mind in incredible ways, but it can also make navigating the world a little more complicated. Some studies, for instance, have looked at members of Mensa, an organization for people with IQs in the top 2%, and found they report higher rates of anxiety disorders than the general population. Let's explore this balance, the gifts and the burdens, to get a clearer picture of these brilliant minds. The first thing to understand is the sheer power of their pattern recognition. While most of us see individual events, the high IQ mind is constantly scanning for the invisible connections between them, processing multiple variables at once. They aren't just faster thinkers. It's like they're playing a different game entirely, a kind of mental chess where they're simulating outcomes 5 or 10 moves ahead. This is why they often seem to question everything. It's not about being rebellious. It's a relentless drive to understand how a system really works from the ground up. While that impulse can sometimes challenge the status quo, it's the very same trait that leads to world-changing innovations. Now, contrary to the stereotype of the cold, unfeeling genius, a high IQ doesn't mean a lack of emotion. In fact, some psychological models suggest that gifted individuals can have a different quality of emotional experience. They don't necessarily feel more, but they often analyze their feelings with the same rigor they apply to an intellectual problem. This can lead to a powerful kind of self-awareness. It's also been suggested that this analytical depth can be linked to a form of cognitive empathy, where they use their reasoning skills to decode and understand what others are thinking and feeling. You might see this in someone who rehearses conversations in their head. It isn't always out of anxiety, but often comes from a desire for precision and a genuine connection. This mix of deep feeling and sharp analysis can make them incredibly insightful, but it also means they're often harder on themselves than anyone else could be. And this brings us to the core challenge, a feeling of being out of sync with the world. Many people with high intelligence report feeling perpetually isolated, as if their mind is moving at a pace that makes average conversation feel frustrating or unengaging. This can lead them to withdraw. It can also create a difficult communication barrier. They might overcomplicate their ideas or get impatient when they have to simplify their thoughts, which can sometimes be misinterpreted as arrogance. In reality, it's often just the exhaustion of constantly having to translate their complex inner world for others. So, it's not entirely surprising that some studies on high IQ groups have found higher reported rates of anxiety. So, what happens when your brain never really powers down? That constant mental activity can lead to intense overthinking, where the sheer number of possibilities they see makes it hard to land on a single decision. One model calls this a hyperbrain, where constant rumination and worry can trigger a very real hyperbody stress response. This is why solitude isn't just a preference for them, it's often a necessity. They need that quiet time to organize their racing thoughts and mentally recharge. In relationships, this can sometimes cause friction if a partner doesn't understand their need for space. They tend to prioritize a few deep connections over a wide social circle. So, how do they thrive? It seems the key is finding a balance. They learn to embrace both sides of their intelligence. Many seek out intellectual peers in communities or careers that challenge them, and they learn to use their self-awareness to build those genuine emotional bonds they crave. They lean into what psychologists call cognitive flexibility, the ability to treat their own opinions as drafts that can be revised with new evidence. And perhaps most importantly, they learn that the goal isn't to stop their powerful mind, but to channel it. By cultivating self-compassion, they can learn to navigate the complexities of their inner world and unlock their full potential. Ultimately, a high IQ seems to grant incredible powers of pattern recognition and strategic thinking, but it can come with the weight of overthinking and a sense of isolation. Understanding this duality is the key to finding that equilibrium. If any of this resonated with you, I'd be curious to hear your own experiences in the comments. What do you see as the biggest challenge or the greatest gift of a highly analytical mind? And if you enjoy these kinds of deep dives into psychology, Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content that explores the fascinating complexities of the human brain.